Once upon a time, in a far-off land, there was a horse named Mr. Ed. Mr. Ed was not your average horse. He was a prankster, always finding ways to make the other animals on the farm laugh. His favorite trick was to pretend to be asleep and then suddenly jump up and neigh loudly, startling anyone who happened to be nearby. One day, Mr. Ed decided to play a new joke on the other horses. He had found a large bag of flour in the barn, and he thought it would be hilarious to cover himself in it and then run around the field, pretending to be a ghost. The other horses would surely be scared out of their wits. So Mr. Ed snuck into the barn and covered himself in flour. He looked ridiculous, with white powder all over his brown coat and mane. He giggled to himself as he imagined the other horses running away in terror. But as Mr. Ed was about to run out of the barn, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. He tried to neigh, but no sound came out. His legs buckled, and he collapsed to the ground, still covered in flour. It turns out that the bag of flour had been sitting in the barn for a long time and had become infested with mold. Mr. Ed, who had a sensitive respiratory system, had inhaled too much of the mold spores, which had caused an immediate allergic reaction. He had died instantly. The other animals on the farm were devastated when they found out what had happened. They had loved Mr. Ed and his silly jokes, and they couldn't believe that he was gone. Even though his death was sudden and tragic, they couldn't help but chuckle when they remembered the sight of him covered in flour, trying to be a ghost. From that day on, the other horses made a solemn promise to always remember Mr. Ed and his funny antics. They knew that he would have wanted them to keep laughing and having fun, even in his absence. And so they did, but they never again played with moldy flour, just to be safe.